the Pacers are going back to the Eastern Conference Finals for the second straight year. First time they've done that since 2014. Tyrese Haliburton was spectacular, especially in the second half. 31 points. As the Pacers are moving on, the Cavs go down. And for more on the Pacers beating the one-seed Cavaliers in 5 games, we bring in CBS Sports NBA analyst John Gonzalez. And John, we're watching the game, and I'm sure you and I had the same reaction. Cleveland's up 44-25. There's no way they're going to blow it. And then Indiana says, hold your beer, okay? We're going to do it again. Like, I just don't understand how the Pacers are able to do this time after time. Can you explain to me what's going on here?
Yeah, 2 things are true at the same time, right? I mean, the Pacers are a really good team. They play together. They move the ball. They make the right pass. They don't get flustered. And then the Cavs are just, I mean, could not be a more disappointing end to what was otherwise a really good season. Chris, they lost 3 of the 4 games on their own floor. I mean, that's really disheartening. If you think you come in as the #1 seed, home court advantage, it's going to matter. You won 64 games this season. You were the best team in the Eastern Conference all year. You think you're on a glide path to the Eastern Conference Finals. You're destined to meet the Celtics, right? Well, we saw what happened with the Celtics, and now the Cavs are out even before the Celtics are. Yeah, I mean, it's another really good season for the Pacers, who just continue to surprise everybody outside of Indiana. And for the Cavs, they had the best season that they've had since LeBron left, and it doesn't matter. All they'll be thinking about is how this thing went sideways.
Right, and for the Pacers, Tyrese Haliburton, right? We know he was named most overrated. That's probably because players are tired of him busting their behinds. He clearly is not overrated. 31 points in this game, had some huge plays down the stretch. What is it about him in the moments for the clutch that really makes him go to a different level?
Yeah, he's been fantastic. I think some people, yeah, the players, some of them like to hate on Haliburton. And this year he started off slowly. Don't forget, you know, he basically was a DNP CD for the entire portion of the Olympics. And then comes into the regular season. He gets off to a slow start. The Pacers get off to a slow start. And then people start to nitpick. Oh, see, Haliburton's overrated. The Pacers aren't any good. They're just a mid-team in a bad conference. Well, no, since January 1, this team, the Pacers, have really gotten their act together. Only 3 teams other than Oklahoma City, the Celtics, and the Cavs had a better record than the Pacers. And now all of a sudden the Pacers have vanquished one of those teams. And it's because of Tyrese Haliburton, who was spectacular tonight in a closeout game. 31 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. He had a steal. He was super efficient. He had 6 threes. Yeah, the light goes on for him and for this team when they're down 19. And a lot of teams would just pack it up and say, all right, well, it's game 6 incoming. And instead, Haliburton, let's everybody calm down. We've got this. We remember what the playoffs and the postseason are like and how hard it is to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Well, guess what? We're going to do it again, and the Cavs are going home.
Yeah, and they play such a beautiful brand of basketball, and it really speaks to the resilience. Like, every time they get down, whether it's 19, 20, 25, they do not show any type of quit and laying down. They're like, we're going to play until the final whistle, and literally until the final whistle. Now, for the Cavaliers, right, they're the #1 seed. You talked about all the accolades that they had, you know, after the regular season. How disappointing is it for them to lose the way they did against the Pacers, knowing that their season is probably looked at as a failure in most people's eyes?
Yeah, I think it's probably looked at as a failure in their eyes too, right? They had, I mean, they didn't come into the postseason as the #1 seed, having won 64 games when only Oklahoma City had won more games than them, and think, you know what, if we make the second round and we lose, that'll be good. That'll be a good season. No, this is a team. Donovan Mitchell was doing everything he possibly could do tonight to will them to a victory on basically one functioning ankle. He had 35 points, hit some massive shots in the fourth quarter. Yeah, he missed some free throws, but you can't fault Donovan Mitchell. And they did have some injuries. There's no doubt about it. Donovan Mitchell's ankle. Darius Garland never looked right, really, except for one game with that toe injury. Evan Mobley came back. Hunter had a thumb. These things are unfortunate, right? But when you are the #1 seed, when you have the coach of the year, when you have 3 All-Stars, rather, and 2 All-NBA players, and the defensive player of the year, it's conference finals or bust for you. And instead it was bust. And for them to lose 3 games at home, that's the thing I think that they'll really be kicking themselves for. They had a bad shooting night again tonight in a closeout game. Chris, this was the #1 offense in the NBA this year, one of the best shooting teams in the NBA. They had shooting up and down that roster, and they just went cold at the absolute worst time. 26% from three tonight, sub 40% from the floor in a closeout game at home. At home? No, that can't happen. They're going to be kicking themselves.
Yeah, a lot of despair and sadness probably in that Cavaliers locker room as their season comes to a shocking end. And when you think about the Cavaliers, they made so many strides when it came to their offense, right? They made the trade for DeAndre Hunter, you know, to beef up that defense, a 3-and-D guy. When you look at their offseason going forward, do they just run it back, or do they have to make some changes that is going to make some people uncomfortable to make sure this doesn't happen again?
I suppose that they could really unplug one of the big pieces, but I'd be really surprised if that happens. Payroll-wise, asset-wise, they're pretty much locked into their core, and I would run it back. I mean, when you have the #1 offense in the NBA and a top 10 defense, that's really hard to move on from. Just a year before that, before Kenny Atkinson came in, it was J.B. Bickerstaff, and they were having a hard time figuring out how to play Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell together, and similarly in the front court, how to play Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen together. And I was one of the people who said, this isn't that hard. You should stagger those guys and give fewer minutes to one guy in the front court, one guy in the back court. Well, I'm an idiot. Kenny Atkinson was the coach of the year for a reason. He solved that conundrum, and he figured out how to play those guys together at the same time, and he supercharged that team and got the most out of them. This is a super disappointing postseason result from them, but I'd be really surprised if they don't try to run it back next season and at least take a look at it, especially in the Eastern Conference now with Jason Tatum going down, the Celtics going from a juggernaut and the defending champion to all of a sudden who knows what they're going to be. There's going to be a lot of upheaval in the Eastern Conference. I might tinker on the margins, Chris. Maybe you take a look at the bench. Maybe you get some more minutes to Ty Jerome. You went out and got Hunter, see what he looks like with a full season with the team. But wholesale changes, I think you just got to hope for the best next season and try again.
And one guy who they're clearly not going to get rid of is Donovan Mitchell. He is their franchise superstar. He's made the playoffs, John. Every season he's been in the NBA, but he's never made it out of the second round. So when you put that into perspective, how does this change or maybe keep the same viewpoint when it comes to his legacy?
Yeah, two things can be true at once, right? It can be true that he was spectacular in this series. If you were going to pick out one player on the Cavs to say, man, that guy gave a full effort, it was absolutely Donovan Mitchell. Unfortunately for him, some of his big efforts came in losing causes. I don't think that you could lay it on Donovan Mitchell. Now, that said, over the course of his career, yeah, I mean, he hasn't gotten out of the second round. That's something that gets hung around the necks of a lot of players. There are plenty of great players over the course of their careers in NBA history who never won a championship. Chris Paul, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone. You can go down the list, right? Well, he hasn't gotten out of the second round. In Philadelphia, where I'm from, Joel Embiid hasn't been out of the second round. The Sixers as an organization haven't been out of the second round since 2001, right? Since Allen Iverson was there. There's fully formed large human beings who weren't born the last time that happened. So if you're Donovan Mitchell, yeah, it's disappointing. He's still a really excellent player. He's going to make, if not first team All-NBA, second team All-NBA. I don't know what else you could really ask for from him. This wasn't a Donovan Mitchell failure. This was a Cavs failure.
Right. I think that's very well said because, as you pointed out, he left it all on the table. One ankle, and he was giving you every single ounce of energy he had to try and make the Cavs win. But, of course, that doesn't happen. So now, assuming the Knicks beat the Celtics in 5 or maybe 6 or whatever, it's going to be Pacers-Knicks. So if the Knicks win, how do you like Indiana's chances going up against New York in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yeah, I'm done doubting the Pacers. I mean, I know that the Knicks will be the fashionable pick. Knicks fans are everywhere. They're legion. They're very excited about the team that they have, and they should be. The Knicks are a good team, and a lot of people doubted them going into that Celtics series. A lot of people being me. I'll put my hand up on that one. They've acquitted themselves really well. They thought they could be Eastern Conference contenders this season. They've proven themselves to be so, and that was true even before Jason Tatum got hurt. Credit to the Knicks. But I am done doubting the Indiana Pacers. My podcast partner, our NBA insider, Bill Ryder, was somebody who pointed this out way earlier than I noticed it. He kept saying to me on the podcast, hey, look, the Pacers are pretty good. They got off to this slow start. Now, all of a sudden, they've been excellent at both ends of the floor. I'm not saying the Pacers are going to win the series or even that I'm going to pick them. I need to think about this a little bit more. But I think that we're in for a treat. For casuals, maybe you're waiting on Cavs and Celtics, but you're going to get a really good series. And for people who are old enough to remember those late 90s clashes between
Xin chào các bạn nha. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn cắt rán. Bây giờ mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn cắt rán. Đây là chai nước Coca-Cola nha.
Ôi, cái này ngon lắm. Sao vậy? Anh em thì trong này không để làm mình đúng ăn cho nó 10 cái cốc ăn món. Chị Lâm Mai Lam này cũng ăn vừa chan xong. Anh vừa bảo là anh ăn.
Cái pin nó ra đi.
Em Salia thành ra của 5 can hay không? Không để cà phê đi. Không đi lộn cũng pha. Và tiếp với món nặng. Thế? Có cái gì không? Có cái món gì ở ngoài không? Hả? Anh kia đặt tướng quả. Đặt thật xuống thử. Áo này là anh Toàn đúng không? Bao nhiêu người sẽ thể hiện? 62 trên công ty có 15 người. 8 người là ai?
4 người thôi.
Cái đấy. 4 người trong một cái này.
Cái đi ví dụ chung
Đúng không ạ?
chung làm rồi vậy đúng không?
Nhưng mà có bảo đi học là anh học sinh bạn. Thế này nó có bảo gì không? Bảo là trên bằng đấy mà xong phải học thì bảo học cái là cái này các con uống mình cái gì nữa thì uống.
nhiều là mấy cái gì
Đấy.
nó chơi những hai cái gì cùng thì để chọn
Ông cho nó đi cho bia.
cái gì thầy ngư